In the world today, whether you're navigating business or just, life, standing still just isn't really an option, is it?
No, not at all.
You have to keep moving, keep evolving. It's that powerful idea summed up by the phrase innovate or evaporate.
It's the stark reality, really. The pressure to adapt, find new ways of doing things, solve problems creatively. It's absolutely everywhere.
Exactly. And that's really the core of what we're doing in this deep dive. We're exploring how to build that muscle, how to become more creative, not just for, generating wild ideas out of nowhere, but for tackling real world problems and spotting opportunities maybe others miss.
And our guide for this journey is a fascinating handbook, a toolkit, really. It's designed specifically to teach these techniques for creative problem solving, especially in business.
Right. So our mission today is to pull out some of the most compelling, most actionable insights from the source material.
Yeah.
We want to show you that creativity isn't some random gift from the muses. It's actually a skill, something you can learn, develop, and apply systematically.
Like a method.
Yeah, we're unpacking the methods that can help you navigate challenges and unlock those breakthrough ideas, at every single turn.
Let's dive right into that foundational idea then. This handbook, it makes it absolutely crystal clear. Creativity isn't some mystical talent reserved for just a select few.
Right.
It argues everyone has an innate capacity for it. It's a skill like, I don't know, riding a bike or playing an instrument. It gets better with practice and using the right techniques.
Which is incredibly empowering when you think about it.
Really?
It means you don't have to just sit around waiting for inspiration to strike like lightning. And the book connects this directly to innovation, explaining that innovation is basically the process of turning that creativity into tangible value.
Value like?
Well, whether that's a new product, an improved service, maybe a more efficient way of doing things internally, or even a totally different approach to marketing or
And
management.
you see this everywhere, right? Not just in, say, high tech. I mean, think about Intel. They innovated relentlessly with new chips like the Pentium
Sure.
or Nordstrom, how they differentiated themselves purely through exceptional customer service. That's innovation.
Or Hewlett-Packard, they famously restructured their whole organization just to speed up product development. That's a management innovation.
And the book gives this great example with Steelcase, the office furniture company.
Right, furniture. You wouldn't immediately think high innovation.
Exactly. But Steelcase innovates across the board. Product design, sure, but also manufacturing processes using autonomous teams, their marketing campaigns, even creating their physical office spaces specifically to foster interaction and creativity. It just shows like creativity and innovation are crucial. Doesn't matter the industry.
Yeah, it's universal.
What's particularly insightful is how the book breaks down the entire process of creative problem solving, they call it CPS, into these distinct stages. It's not just one single flash of genius, it's more of a structured journey.
Okay, so lay out those steps for us.
Yeah.
What does that journey look like?
Well, you start with analyzing the environment, kind of getting the lay of the land, then recognizing and clearly identifying the specific problem or the opportunity.
Okay.
Next up is making assumptions. What are we taking for granted here? Then the big one, generating alternatives. After that, choosing the best ones, implementing them, and finally, control, which is evaluating the results and making refinements.
And the really critical point the source emphasizes is that these creative techniques, they aren't just for that middle part, the brainstorming solutions bit.
No, not at all.
They can be applied at each one of those stages. Creativity starts right at the beginning with how you even find and define the challenge itself.
Precisely. I mean, before you solve a problem, you have to be absolutely sure you're working on the right problem.
The point.
So how do you creatively recognize those issues that might be lurking under the surface? The handbook suggests, well, actively looking at current conditions. Sounds simple, right? But it often gets overlooked.
Yeah, just paying attention. Or they introduce some really fascinating techniques like inverse brainstorming.
Oh, that one's great.
Instead of asking, how can we solve this problem, you flip it completely. You start with a perfect situation like, say, our workforce is incredibly motivated,
Yeah.
totally engaged.
Okay, the ideal.
Then you brainstorm everything you could possibly do to destroy that perfect state, all the things that would just make motivation plummet.
Huh. So you're looking for the failure point.
Exactly. The ideas you generate are actually a list of potential problems you need to avoid or fix right now.
It's a really powerful way to uncover blind spots, isn't it? Another simple but effective method they mention is just listing complaints.
From who?
directly asking employees or customers what frustrates them, what's not working. That friction, that's often a signal of a hidden problem or maybe even an opportunity.
And sometimes the opportunity isn't something you spot yourself, but maybe something someone else brings to you. And the creative challenge then is recognizing its potential when others don't.
Yeah, the book has some incredible anecdotes about that. Ideas initially rejected, sometimes by major players, but later becoming massive successes because someone else saw their value.
Like Star Wars, turned down by how many studios?
A dozen, apparently, before Fox finally took a gamble. Or think about Xerox's core photocopying tech rejected by IBM, GM, DuPont, giants, before the inventors just, started their own company and basically created an industry.
Well, or Victor Kiam, famously passing up the chance to buy Velcro for just $25,000.
Can you imagine?
The insight there is that creativity also involves having the vision, maybe the courage, to recognize potential in ideas that seem, well, kind of weird or far-fetched to everyone else.
Absolutely. Okay, so once you've recognized a potential problem, the next step is identifying it, defining it clearly.
How do you get creative there?
Well, just restating the problem in different ways, sometimes called redefining the problem, that alone can reveal new angles you hadn't considered.
Okay.
And a technique they recommend for really digging into root causes is the why diagram.
Ah, the 5 whys sometimes.
Sort of, yeah. You start with the observable problem, let's say, poor product sales.
Yeah.
Simple enough. Then you ask, why are sales poor?
Right.
That might lead to factors like, poor design, inadequate promotion, distribution issues, price is wrong, maybe wrong target market.
A whole bunch of potential reasons.
Exactly. Then, for each of those factors, you ask why. Again, why is the design poor? Why is the promotion inadequate? You keep drilling down, maybe 5 layers, maybe more, until you feel you've uncovered the fundamental issues, not just the symptoms.
It forces you past the surface level stuff.
It really does. The book tells this story about Federal Express using a CPS approach to tackle issues they were having in package sorting. By asking why repeatedly, they discovered the root causes weren't just about the sorting process itself, but actually having too many workers who fundamentally didn't understand their role properly, which led to major inefficiencies.
So the solution wasn't just tweaking the assembly line.
No, it involved actually reducing staff and significantly improving training. It shows how creativity isn't just about some wild product idea. It can be about improving a core process.
That's a great example.
Okay, next stage.
Making assumptions. We all do it, right? We have to make assumptions to function, but they can really box us in when we're looking for new solutions.
So how do you get creative with assumptions?
This is where assumption reversal comes in. The core insight is that our most ingrained assumptions, the things we take completely for granted, are often the biggest barriers to finding novel solutions.
So you list them out. Yeah. You list the assumptions you're making about a problem, maybe about your customers, your market, your own capabilities. Then you deliberately reverse each one, flip it, and explore the consequences. What if our customers don't care about convenience? What if our biggest weakness is actually our greatest strength? What would that imply?
That could lead to some strange places.
It can. The book gives the author's own example with book sales, initially assuming a certain sales channel just wouldn't work, only to find later that reversing that assumption opened up a huge opportunity.
Right.
And that Continental Bank story is really telling too. Recognizing they needed killer closers challenged their basic assumptions about who makes a good banker.
So it changed who they hired.
Exactly. It shifted their recruitment focus to look for different skills like creative problem solving and, interestingly, comfort with ambiguity, things they hadn't prioritized before.
Okay, so we've analyzed, recognized, identified, checked our assumptions. Now we get to the part most people think of. Right.
Generating alternatives. Yeah, this is where the handbook really offers a deep toolkit of techniques. And the guiding principle here, initially at least, is quantity over quality. Just get as many ideas out there as possible. Don't judge yet.
Let's unpack a few of the really powerful techniques they highlight. Analogies and metaphors seem central, borrowing ideas from completely different fields.
Yeah, it's a huge one. They describe direct analogy, like the engineers designing that Atlas Copco Rocktech mining machine. They found inspiration in the forelegs of a praying mantis.
Wow, okay. from nature.
Or scientists studying how spiders move to improve robot locomotion. You look at how nature, or maybe a totally different industry, solves a problem that's structurally similar to yours.
Didn't you mention DuPont and Nomex fiber earlier?
Yes. That breakthrough was apparently inspired by how miners use temporary props, those little jacks, to keep tunnels from collapsing while they work. A totally unrelated field, providing the core idea.
That's clever. And what about personal analogy? That sounds different.
It is. Even more unconventional. Here, the insight is that you gain empathy and brand new perspectives by, well, becoming the object or process you're trying to improve.
Becoming it. How does that work?
Well, Gillette managers famously role-played being strands of hair and drops of shampoo to really understand the user experience from the inside out. That helped them develop Silkience shampoo.
Okay, I can sort of see that.
Or scientists pretending to be glass molecules, trying to feel how they'd interact, to figure out how to create reflective glass. It sounds a bit silly, maybe.
A little bit, yeah.
But it forces you into a totally different headspace. It bypasses your usual logical thinking patterns.
It absolutely shakes you out of your usual perspective, I bet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what else? They mention a checklist.
Right. Another classic technique they detail is Alex Osborne's verbal checklist for creativity. You take an existing product or service, something you want to improve, and you systematically ask questions using a list of action verbs. Can I substitute something? Can I combine it with something else? Adapt it. Modify it. Magnify it. Minify it. Put it to another use entirely. Eliminate something. Reverse or rearrange the components. It's known by the acronym SCAMPER sometimes.
Ah, scamper. Heard of that.
Yeah. It's a systematic way to force new ideas by just exploring variations on what already exists. The handbook uses the example of the Minify prompt, leading from the original laptop to the smaller notebook or even palm-top computers.
Makes sense. Systematically shrinking it.
Beyond these big ones, the book touches on others like mind mapping, that visual technique for organizing thoughts and letting ideas branch out,
Yeah, very popular.
and association techniques, like free association, where you just write down a chain of connected words, one sparking the next to unlock unexpected links or ideas buried in your subconscious.
Kind of like word jazz.
Sort of. They even note that for some people, not everyone, but some, working under a tight deadline can paradoxically stimulate creative breakthroughs, that pressure cooker effect.
Interesting. Okay, so those are mostly individual things. What about getting groups creative?
Right. Shifting to group techniques. Brainstorming is obviously the most famous. The handbook reiterates the core rules that make it actually effective, because it often isn't done right.
Like what?
Suspend all judgment, no criticism allowed during the idea generation phase. Encourage wild, crazy ideas, the crazier the better initially. Aim for a large quantity of ideas, volume first. And consciously build on or combine the ideas others suggest. Yes, and thinking.
Got it. Good for specific narrow problems, they say.
Yeah, generally. They mention International Paper using it successfully with their customers, and DuPont employing it widely internally for focused challenges.
What about variations?
A key variation they discuss is brainwriting, especially the 6-3-5 method.
The 6-3-5.
6 people, each writes down 3 ideas in 5 minutes. Then you pass the papers around the circle, read the previous ideas, and add 3 more, building on them or adding new ones. You do this several times.
So it's silent brainstorming, basically.
Exactly. It's less verbal, much more structured, and can be really effective, especially maybe in cultures or groups where people might be less comfortable shouting out ideas spontaneously. Everyone contributes equally.
Okay. What else for groups? The excursion technique sounds intriguing.
It's quite imaginative. The idea is you take an imaginary trip as a group, maybe to a jungle, a foreign city, under the sea, wherever.
Imaginary trip.
Yeah. And then you use elements you encounter in that imaginary environment as analogies or metaphors to spark ideas about your actual real-world problem.
Example.
The book recounts a facilitator using a jungle excursion with some NASA engineers, thinking about how things interlock and clutch and grab onto each other in dense jungle undergrowth, apparently led to the idea for a new type of spacesuit fastener, kind of like the principle behind Velcro, inspired by burrs sticking to clothes.
Wow, from mental jungle walk to spacesuit tech.
It's about finding stimuli from unrelated domains. They also highlight storyboarding as a really powerful tool, especially for complex problems.
Like for movies.
Similar concept, but applied to problems. It involves visually arranging ideas or steps in a process on boards, often using headers for different aspects like planning, ideas, communication, organization. Frito-Lay apparently uses this a lot.
How does it help creativity?
It helps not just generate ideas, but also organize them visually. It can clarify the problem definition itself, and importantly, you can structure sessions, separating the creative thinking part, where there's no judgment, from the later critical thinking part, where you evaluate the ideas.
Okay, separating the generation from the judge.
Right.
Makes sense. One more group one.
Yeah, the nominal group technique, or NGT. This is much more structured than classic brainstorming.
How so?
Everyone first brainstorms ideas silently and writes them down privately. Then, you go around the room in a round-robin fashion. Each person shares one idea at a time, which gets written on a shared list until all ideas are up there.
No discussion yet.
Only a brief discussion, just for clarification, making sure everyone understands what each idea means. No debate. Then, everyone silently votes or ranks the ideas to prioritize them.
So it guarantees everyone's input and avoids, like, the loudest person dominating.
Precisely. It's designed to ensure all voices are heard and get equal weight initially. It's not for negotiation, but for generating and then prioritizing a list of options from a group.
So you can really see there's a whole spectrum of tools here, huh?
Absolutely. From really free-form association to highly structured checklists and group processes like NGT, the key insight from the source is simply having this variety of tools at your disposal, knowing different tools work better for different problems or different groups.
Okay, so let's say you've used some of these techniques, you've generated all these amazing ideas. The next challenge, which the book definitely covers, is choosing among them. And then, critically, implementation.
Yeah, because a brilliant idea that just sits on a whiteboard or in a report, well, that isn't innovation, is it? It hasn't created any value yet.
Right. So how do you choose? Does the book offer methods?
It mentions structured ways to evaluate. Things like a screening matrix, where you maybe plot ideas on a grid based on criteria like their originality or creativity versus their potential impact or ease of implementation.
Visual sort.
Yeah. Or simpler methods like dot voting in groups, where everyone gets a few sticky dots to place on their preferred ideas. Quick way to gauge group consensus.
But choosing is one thing. The real hurdle is often actually getting the chosen idea implemented, especially inside a larger organization.
Oh, definitely. The book uses this powerful metaphor of the different roles needed in the innovation process. You need the explorer finding the idea, the artist developing it, the judge evaluating it, and then you need the warrior.
The warrior sounds intense.
It is. The warrior is the person, or maybe the team, who has to champion the idea. They have to sell it internally, navigate the political landscape, overcome resistance, and actually drive it through to reality. The handbook points out how this warrior role is often the most difficult and absolutely crucial. You often need a dedicated product champion who is willing to fight for the idea.
This leads into what the book calls the politics of innovation, right? Why good ideas often just die inside companies.
Exactly. The book lists some common pitfalls, like the ambassador syndrome, where innovation teams are created but given no real authority or budget, or rock-hard controls, just excessive bureaucracy and red tape that stifles anything new. The business of a certain size ploy, where ideas get shot down if they don't immediately promise massive blockbuster returns, even if they're promising niche ideas.
Kills incremental innovation.
Totally. And sometimes just simple cynicism or NIH not invented here syndrome among managers.
So what's the insight for overcoming that? Just have a better idea.
Not necessarily just the idea itself. The key insight here is that overcoming these barriers often requires more than just brilliance or hoping for a perfectly collaborative, supportive culture. It requires resilience, political savvy, and actively managing the process of getting the idea accepted and implemented.
So being strategic about selling it.
Yes. The book even suggests using a structured approach, almost like another storyboard, to plan how you'll pitch the idea internally, listing crucial elements you need to address, building credibility, clearly outlining costs and benefits, showing how it fits the company culture or how the culture needs to adapt, demonstrating potential results, and even refining the presentation and considering your own personality and how you come across.
Thinking through the whole pitch. They also bring in force field analysis, don't they? A technique from Kurt Lewin.
Yeah, which is incredibly practical for anticipating and managing that inevitable resistance to change. You list all the driving forces, everything pushing for your idea or change. Then you list all the restraining forces, everything pushing against it, resisting it.
Okay, forces for and against.
And the key insight from Lewin is that change is often more likely to stick if you focus your energy on weakening the restraining forces, like addressing people's fears with clear communication or training, removing bureaucratic obstacles rather than just pushing harder and harder with the driving forces, which can sometimes increase resistance.
Reduce the friction instead of just increasing the push. Clever.
It's a very useful diagnostic tool. Finally, the book does address the control stage.
Right, the last step in their CPS model. It's
But
about,
evaluating the results of the implemented solution. Did it actually work? Did it solve the problem we identified way back at the start? What were the unintended consequences? What can be learned?
so it's crucial. It's not just an endpoint, but it often feeds right back into the beginning of the next cycle, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It feeds back into analyzing the environment again, maybe spotting new opportunities or issues that arose from the solution itself. It's a continuous loop of improvement and innovation.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what does this all really mean? This deep dive into the handbook, it really just underscores that creativity isn't some accident, is it?
No, not at all. It's a vital, learnable skill, something you can apply systematically, methodically, and not just for generating ideas, but for better understanding problems in the first place, making smarter decisions about which ideas to pursue, and then successfully bringing those ideas to life against the odds.
It really powerfully backs up that innovate or evaporate message by actually showing how you can innovate step by step.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it means you personally have agency here. You have a toolkit available. You don't have to just feel stuck when facing a challenge.
All right.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting, hopefully, for you listening. Think about a challenge you're facing right now. Could be big, could be small, maybe work-related, maybe personal. Just bring one to mind.
Okay. Now, reflecting on this deep dive on all these techniques from the handbook, what is just one technique we talked about today that you could maybe experiment with, applying to that specific problem?
Just one. Could you try listing complaints from others involved? Maybe to understand the frustrations better.
Or could you try redefining the problem statement in a few different ways? See if that shifts your perspective.
What about doing a quick assumption reversal? What are you taking for granted about this situation, and what if the opposite were true?
Or maybe try a personal analogy, even if it feels weird.
Yeah.
What if you were the product or the customer or the process that's stuck?
Yeah.
What would that feel like?
Pick just one. Don't overthink it. The goal isn't perfection first time out.
Yeah, even if it feels a little awkward or forces you to look at things differently than you normally would, that's kind of the point, isn't it?
That's exactly the point.
Because the real deep dive, the one that will actually unlock your own creative potential, well, it isn't just listening to us talk about it. It starts the moment you decide to try one of these techniques, experiment, and just see where it takes you.